Who are the best waiver wire pickups ahead of week 2 in fantasy football? We're about to find out as I break it down all for you here on Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer, and I'm not doing this. I'm writing about NFL and fantasy football for sportingnews.com. Come to the site, get all that you need here going into week 2, coming out of week 1, the fallout or early rankings across positions. I'll have my start sitcom, the decider up there for you shortly as well that you can check out at midweek. Here at Locked On Fantasy Football, it's time to take a close look at the waiver wire for week number 2. And how we do it here, it's a Pickup Tuesday. This is our first in-season edition. We first look at running backs, then we get into wide receivers, then we close the show looking at quarterbacks, tight ends, and defenses. So that'll be the breakdown every Pickup Tuesday, your ultimate waiver wire advice here on Locked On Fantasy Football. We'll get into all the fun in a moment. I do have to make sure that you're checking out Locked On NFL Sunday. Looking for a Sunday pregame show that talks about every game and every team in depth. Check out the Locked On NFL Sunday show live every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. No sketches, no celebrity cameos, no fluff, just football every Sunday morning with hosts Cody Rourke and Ross Jackson. Follow and subscribe to Locked On NFL on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And don't forget to turn on notifications to be notified when the show goes live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. All right, we have no time to waste. Let's dive into the running back pickup targets here. The highest priority has to be Eli Mitchell, the rookie 6th-round pick. He started in the backfield behind Raheem Mostert, ahead of Trey Sermon, the much-anticipated rookie from Ohio State. Mitchell, Louisiana product, looked really good in the zone blocking scheme. Kyle Shanahan declared that he was the guy that just earned the backup job, and what happened? Raheem Mostert goes down with a knee injury. Mitchell promptly takes over the backfield with no Jeff Wilson Jr. and runs for 104 rushing yards in the game. And all of a sudden is where we want to put all our attention in with the 49ers and their backfield. Now, I would invest a good chunk of fab budget here, but keep in mind the 49ers are a little bit fickle with their backfield usage. We've seen it between Mostert and Wilson. We could certainly see it between Mitchell and Trey Sermon here developed between the two rookies, a hot hand approach, sort of matchup approach. Shanahan is tricky. We know that. This was a trick immediately out of the get-go here, and it changes things with Mostert going down with yet another knee injury. So Mitchell, high target, good amount of fab. I wouldn't spend it all on him. There's going to be some other running backs that drop out that you can look at on the waiver wire later. But again, with that kind of uncertainty with the 49ers, just be a little bit careful there. But in terms of waiver wire priority, Mitchell is number 1 for sure in all league formats here going into week 2. The next running back target is Mark Ingram. We were debating David Johnson versus Philip Lindsay. We had a curveball here with Mark Ingram leading the Texans backfield. They had 26 carries, not very efficient, but still was the lead guy there. Workhorse emerging out of this committee all of a sudden. We told you David Culley, the history there with Ingram in Baltimore. That was playing favorites a little bit. Ingram, pretty reliable. We know that for the Saints. Kind of interesting career for him as a first-round pick, Heisman winner. Hasn't been exactly the way we envisioned, but he's a good locker room leader. They like his presence out there on the field, just like Tyrod Taylor, quarterback. So that's why Ingram got a key role. Now, the game script is not always going to be positive for the Texans. Keep that in mind. They're probably going to be trailing more games than not, which will help David Johnson as he's the better pass catcher of the 3. Ingram's not bad in that area either. We know that from his limited time with Alvin Kamara in New Orleans. He did have some of that role, but Johnson more the guy they'd look at as the wide receiver hybrid. So Ingram, always a good bet to get key carries, at least early in games, and also getting the looks there in the red zone to potentially get some touchdowns there. So Mark Ingram definitely needs to be rostered in all league formats at this point as the best solution as the Texans running back. 2 young guys that we look at, Tony Jones there for the Saints, took over for Latavius Murray. Murray also a worthy pickup there behind Tyson Williams as the new number 2. He's now the Gus Edwards to Tyson Williams, J.K. Dobbins there, while Tony Jones takes over as the Latavius Murray for Alvin Kamara. He looked really good, ran strong. This is going to be a run-heavy team for the Saints. We're going to see more of that developing as we saw with the Packers game. Jones is clear number 2. He's going to have some opportunities to have some standalone value. Ultimate handcuff for Alvin Kamara at this point. So Jones has to be rostered as well. Again, as worst, someone that can be a league winner should Kamara go down. But given his usage, could also have some flex value here, much like Murray behind now Tyson Williams in Baltimore. We look at Kenneth Gainwell. I really like this kid from Memphis. We didn't know what his role was going to be with Miles Sanders. Sanders was the lead guy, but Gainwell jumped Boston Scott to be the change of pace there, did get a touchdown, was using the passing game. There are going to be some touches available. I still think it's going to be Sanders leading this backfield. But again, if something were to happen to Sanders, Gainwell would be the guy to have a big role here. So really like Gainwell's skill set, and it's coming to fruition. Now, the Jets backfield, not all that interesting. Eventually, I think it will go to Michael Carter there. The change of pace, rookie back, he was the main receiving back. They didn't really run effectively with Tevin Coleman or Ty Johnson. But for now, Coleman's the starter. He has experience in the system. Not a very good matchup here in week 2 against the Patriots, but someone you just have to wait and see with the Jets backfield. We can extract some value at some point. Coleman, early in the season, the guy you look at there, but eventually it'll go towards Carter. So maybe Coleman will have some better games and some right matchups. They're at least a little bit committed to the run here with Michael Floor to take pressure off Zach Wilson going forward. You look at Carlos Hyde, he was leading the Jaguars backfield with James Robinson. They're coming in second. Carlos Hyde has that history with Urban Meyer. So Hyde, definite handcuff that you want to look at for Robinson. I think it'll change a little bit. The Jaguars were lamenting the fact they didn't run the ball enough there in that game against the Texans, had opportunities. So that'll change. They do play the Browns. Hyde, one of his former teams this week, tougher matchup. Robinson, I still think is the guy, but Hyde is going to get some key touches. He not going to go away from this offense anytime soon with the Urban connection and their desire to be a better power running team. So Hyde, I don't know if he's going to have standalone. I think Hyde is kind of a thorn in the side here, but James Robinson, we'll see if that can be rectified at some point to help Robinson's value. For now, again, good backup for Robinson if you have him, and we'll see if they give him an expanded role, especially working near the goal line and have some scoring possibilities there. We know Robinson is going to be the main receiving guy to replace Travis Etienne. The next and final running back we're going to talk about is Larry Roundtree. He came on strong there, the Mizzou rookie. We've talked about Joshua Kelly and Kalen Ballage in this backfield behind Austin Eckler before. Justin Jackson has been the guy, but Roundtree, another rookie we're going to put on our radar here to have a potential big role to complement Eckler. Eckler is not a guy that you're going to give 20-plus touches per game, so Roundtree is going to get the complementary work here in the power situation. So if you're also looking for Eckler's handcuff, I would say Roundtree would be the guy here over Justin Jackson at this point of the season. All right, we talked about the running backs here. We will get into the wide receivers in our next segment. We're back and better than ever. All our eyes are on the gridiron as the teams are back on the field to start another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season with a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests. BetOnline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use a mobile device to sign up today. Receive your 100% welcome bonus. It's double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use the promo code NFL100. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline, your fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Again, use that promo code NFL100 for that 100% welcome bonus when you sign up today. All right, we looked at the running backs there that you should target on the waiver wire here at Pickup Tuesday. Let's turn our attention to the wide receivers, and we'll start in Arizona, where Christian Kirk looked really good as the number 2 to DeAndre Hopkins. They diversified this past game, added AJ Green to complement Hopkins. You also have Rondell Moore. Christian Kirk has some wide receiver 3 appeal with his usage here and the way Kyler Murray is playing, throwing the ball downfield. Kirk flashed, against the Cowboys and some other games last year. Couldn't sustain with his production, but I think he will be a bigger part of what they do. Having them Moore and Green certainly detracts the attention there from Hopkins, opens things up all over the field as they spread it around and throw it. We also think Murray is going to throw it quite a bit more and not be as dependent on the runs. He's going to buy time with his feet to get the ball downfield. but not as much running, which should help a Kirk as well as they increase the passing volume. So Kirk has some nice wide receiver 3 appeal, the top target there that you should look at from wide receiver. Rondale Moore, you can look at more as a bench stash as a rookie. We're not quite sure how expanded his role is going to be, but half-point PPR leagues, flex consideration and bench worthiness there for Rondale Moore. But Kirk is the guy I'm looking at for some wide receiver 3 help. Nelson Aguilar is another way you can go here this week. Good chemistry with Mac Jones. Stood out as the Patriots' best pass catcher. Overall, the 2 tight ends were there, Hunter Henry and Jonas Smith, but Aguilar showed some good chemistry again with Mac Jones. Definitely separated himself from Jacoby Myers. Myers was involved, and we didn't see much of Kendrick Bourne here. So Nelson Aguilar, another target there tied to his quarterback, Jalen Reagor as well. Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor have good chemistry. Keep in mind, Reagor was a first-round pick last year, just like Devonta Smith was in 2021. So they want to use this receiver. He's got special speed and quickness and field stretching ability, complemented Smith and Dallas Goedert really well. Good hookup there with Hurts. Same first names, all good stuff there for Reagor. So Kirk, most confident of the wide receiver 3s, but Aguilar and Reagor have that value as well. As this next guy with the Giants, Sterling Shepard, we saw Darius Slayton make a big play early for Daniel Jones, but Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay, hamstrung newcomers. Jones still trying to understand them. Shepard has been Mr. Reliable, lining up all over the field, making catches. He came through right away against the Broncos in that game. Good volume. Good red zone presence, underrated big playability. Shepard also on the wide receiver 3 radar here. Now, some stashes along with Rondale Moore that you can look at. Tim Patrick, we think about next man up there in Denver. Jerry Jeudy dealing with a high ankle sprain. Patrick did score there. Looked to have a good rapport with Teddy Bridgewater, complimented Cortland Sutton. We know that Sutton is going to be limited with the knee injury and the Bridgewater not being able to get the ball downfield consistently. So Tim Patrick, again, a good target there. Zach Pascal, while T.Y. Hilton's out and Paris Campbell a little bit banged up, you look like the preferred target there for what we had with Carson Wentz. So that's what we look at with Zach Pascal. Low upside, though, in that Colts passing game. I really trust their running game a lot more with Jonathan Taylor at this point. But Pascal, again, replacement, looks like he's going to be the target early over Michael Pittman Jr. It's unfortunate. I think Pittman's got way more talent, but Pascal, reliable receiver that they look at all over the field here, and still having trouble stretching the field with Wentz holding the ball too long in the pass protection. So looking at Zach Pascal as a deeper league stash, as well as Brian Edwards. Henry Ruggs III still should be rostered in all leagues here as the speedy deep threat for the Raiders, but Edwards really came on strong, made the key catches in fourth quarter and overtime for the Raiders in that upset against the Ravens. Good size, good catch radius, underrated speed, can get open. Hunter Renfrew also had a big game, but Renfrew is a bit hit or miss. I don't think he's going to be a staple part of their offense all the time. In the slot, to the game script, they were constantly playing from behind. Renfrew did have a few nice plays, but Edwards was the most impressive Raiders all-around receiver in that game, and that's the guy I'm targeting for my bench. You could also look at KJ Hamler in that Denver situation. He's a guy that can line up inside and outside, but Patrick, a little bit better chemistry early for Teddy Bridgewater. We're trying to figure out if anyone's going to step up as a complimentary number 2 to Stephon Diggs. We know that Cole Beasley working the slot well for the Bills. You have Emmanuel Sanders, but Gabriel Davis made a nice play there against the Steelers. He has the highest upside, I think, lining up outside away from Diggs. Terrace Marshall, a lot of mouths to feed there in Carolina, but he's another LSU product, a rookie here. We saw what Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase did, so he has a lot of talent there. Big slot guy that could have some real big potential next year when Robbie Anderson's a free agent, could replace him on the outside there. We're going to watch out for that with Marshall, but good at reuniting with Joe Brady here. So Brady knows his skill set and how to use him here. So we'll see. It's still a distant fourth there behind McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson. Marshall certainly has a talent to look at wide receivers in deeper leagues, as well as Cedric Wilson. We talked about handcuffs at wide receiver. We saw Tim Patrick being one of those guys here. Well, Cedric Wilson is going to take over from Michael Gallup. He saw a ton of snaps there when Gallup was out against the Buccaneers. Gallup going on IR. He's going to miss at least 3 games here for the Cowboys. So Wilson's going to be out there catching passes from Dak Prescott, complimenting Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. So we can't totally ignore him here as some value. All right. So we looked at the running backs. We looked at the wide receivers. We'll get into our final 3 positions, quarterbacks, tight ends, and defenses in our final segment. But I do have to remind you about Rock Auto that this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, now it's impossible for your chain local auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Wired door often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning. Wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts of the computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Example, you can get a Honda Odyssey fuel pump for $353 from a chain store, or you could save a lot of money and get it for only $216 from Rock Auto. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could need at Rock Auto: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car, truck. Right locked in there. How did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you? Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. You'll find them at rockauto.com. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friends log in for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called Directv Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. The best part, there's no annual contract. You get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together right now. Get to Directv Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. All right, running backs down here on Pickup Tuesday. Wide receivers down on Pickup Tuesday. Time to look at quarterbacks, tight ends, and defenses. At quarterback, we're going to look at Jameis Winston. What a debut there as a starter for the Saints, replacing Drew Brees. 5 touchdown passes. Not a lot of volume there, but looked very comfortable distributing the ball. You had guys like Juwan Johnson and Chris Hogan score, as well as Alvin Kamara to help Winston put up those numbers there against the Packers. Looked very comfortable, looked very efficient. Looked a little bit Ryan Tannehill-y in a different way, where system, offensive line, having the support of the running game, open things up for him in the passing game, where you may not have the big 5,000-yard type volume, but you also want to have the interceptions, the big mistakes, maybe not the big plays, but he's going to be efficient and useful in fantasy football, just like Drew Brees was really the past 2 years. He wasn't that elite QB we saw, but he still got the job done in many ways here for New Orleans. And Jameis Winston's going to be that facilitator, and there's enough playmakers, enough pass protection there where Winston can be productive. Ben Roethlisberger didn't have a great game there against the Bills, but better matchup this weekend. So Raiders, they're going to have to pass a little bit more. Their offensive line, run blocking left a lot to be desired there against the Bills. Didn't get Najee Harris going as well, but 3 talented receivers there. Now you saw Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, get involved, along with Julius Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool. You also have James Washington. So they're going to have to open things up with the passing game at some point for Roethlisberger and Steelers. Good matchup, a good mini schedule ahead here for Ben Roethlisberger. Teddy Bridgewater, another guy you can look at, looked pretty good there, comfortable in that Broncos offense. We know he's got some weapons there, even without Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, Courtland Sutton. He's going to have some guys to distribute to. Bridgewater is a streaming option that you look at in a lot of situations. Wouldn't invest highly in him, but not a bad backup to have in fantasy football. Justin Fields, at some point, his time is coming. Had a touchdown there as the change of pace quarterback for the Bears against the Rams in the opener behind Andy Dalton. You know his time is coming. Definitely ahead of Trey Lance at this point, where I think they're content in San Francisco to use Trey Lance as a little bit of a gadget player with Jimmy Garoppolo playing well. Andy Dalton didn't play well, so Fields is going to be out there soon. Tua Tagovailoa, I just have limited interest in him. I don't know why he was drafted so high as a QB2. I know he had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown against the Patriots, but it's sloppy. You never know if you can trust him, and that's what you have to be concerned about. Mac Jones looked like the better quarterback in that Patriots-Dolphins game, just low upside passing game. You got Aguilar, you got tight ends to help with some value, but with Jones, you're looking at a 215-2 type ceiling. Same thing maybe with Tua Tagovailoa here. So that's why these guys are behind the others. While Winston has a pretty high ceiling, Roethlisberger can. Bridgewater, more reliable backup, and Fields, high upside still whenever he gets his turn to start. Let's turn our attention to tight ends, and Gerald Everett really stood out. Will Dissly was involved, definitely for Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, using the 2 tight end sets, carrying over with Gerald Everett and Tyler Higbee. Basically, you saw Dissly as the new Higbee here, where Everett got in the end zone. Here, we saw Dissly being used in other parts of the field, but the tight ends are going to be a factor here for the Seahawks behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson dealing on fire. That always helps any of his past targets. So really after Lockett and Metcalf, they're using the rookie D. Eskridge more of as a versatile cog. The next guys up in the pass game are Everett. Good red zone target for sure, and good compliment to Disley and what he can do at tight end. Juwan Johnson, very touchdown-dependent player, but I think they'll use him in more ways. Hybrid value, a little bit Marcus Colston, tight end, wide receiver, hybrid fantasy football value there. Juwan Johnson. So if you're really hurting at tight end, Jameis Winston's going to make him potentially a new Cameron Brate, targeting him often in the end zone here. So that's good for Juwan. We've seen Eric Ebron retain high fantasy football value by being just a pure touchdown score tight end. Sometimes you look at that position that way, especially if you're investing a late pick or waiver wire person to start in your lineup there at tight end. Cole Kmet, pretty good volume there against the Rams. He'll become more effective, but again, everything that's tied to Justin Fields being out there, I think he'll make all the targets, Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Kmet more effective, but Andy Dalton, security blanket, looking to the tight end. Kmet getting decent pass catching volume there, but right now we're looking at him as a half point or full point PPR option. A defense, you got to look at the Cardinals. They look fantastic here. So they need to be managed in every league here to get the Vikings at home this week. Vikings have some issues on their offensive line. Kirk Cousins can't turn it over and make big mistakes. Chandler Jones, the Cardinals defense should be in all leagues. Saints getting the Panthers here this week. Saints defense looked terrific. Made a lot of plays. The Packers disappointed against the Saints in that matchup for sure, every way around. But get the Lions this week at home on Monday night in Lambeau. Good emotional night game situation to help that Packers defense. They're going to be looking to make amends and make some big plays against Jared Goff, who threw a pick six to the 49ers in week one. And the Bears getting a matchup here. The Bengals, some sacks are going to be available against Joe Burrow this week. So those are the four targets you can look on the waiver wire that should be available readily that you can help your team there in your starting lineup if you're playing the streaming defense game. And we also gave you good streaming quarterback options in this final segment. Betting on the NFL doesn't have to be a guessing game. You can listen to the new Locked On Events podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's Locked On Today. Follow Locked On Bets podcast brought to you by BetOnline.ag wherever you get your podcast. That wraps up this edition of Locked On Fantasy Football. It's been a great Pickup Tuesday here, getting through all the waiver wire options for you. Don't forget, we'll do a double dose of matchups for you, matchup Wednesday, matchup Thursday, breaking down all the games of week 2, previewing them from a fantasy football and gambling perspective in depth. So we'll have that show for you tomorrow there on Wednesday. This has been Tuesday's edition, Pickup Tuesday of Locked On Fantasy Football. Have a great day. Good luck in your waiver wire claims, and we'll catch you